governor's move, revealing that their 11-person board voted not once, but twice to reject Peters' bid for early release after she was convicted of conspiring with allies of the president to breach voting systems in her county in 2021. Both votes were a unanimous no, but the governor overruled those recommendations anyway. And now they're speaking out in writing in an op ed for the Denver Post. Quote, the problem is not about Tina Peters' case in isolation. It's what his decision reveals, that the system bends for some and holds firm against everyone else. Now, she was freed from prison 19 days ago. Within hours of her release, she was on Steve Bannon's podcast where she accused Democrats baselessly of cheating in the upcoming midterm elections. My source tonight is one of those Colorado Clemency Board members who published that Denver Post op-ed, Azra Taslimi, and it's great to have you here because obviously this is a board that operates in secret. What made you and your colleague decide to speak out?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I think, one of the issues that we saw, we review hundreds of applications from people with no legal team, no resources, no one powerful in their corner. And they do everything right. They show us remorse, they show us change, they show us the work it took to come before us. And we respond yes to their clemency applications, and the governor fails to act. And yet, when it came to Ms. Peters, we saw that despite the fact that we didn't see any remorse, we didn't see her take any accountability, he granted clemency anyway. And that is why we decided to speak up. The system, if we allow for the system to run unchecked, for unfairness and inequity to seep in, then that's how corruption takes root.
When the board voted no, which was unanimous, twice on her request for early release, why was that?
I think we looked at her application and we saw that what it contained was performative accountability. And that's why we voted no twice. And we were right. The moment she walked out of prison, she went back to calling herself a martyr, insisting that, her only mistake was trying to expose voter fraud, repeating the very claims that got her convicted in the first place. There was no reckoning, there was no change, there was only a return to the exact conduct the jury had already issued the conviction for. And we see a lot of these applications. Genuine accountability and change shows up in how a person speaks and about their actions and the people they have harmed. And we did not see that in Ms. Peters' application.
President Trump was hammering Governor Polis over this. They were canceling projects in the state. He posted about it regularly. He made clear he wanted Tina Peters to get out of prison. And when we spoke with Governor Polis, he said it wasn't about that pressure, that actually had no influence on his decision. Instead, he said he thought that her sentence was basically unfair. Do you think that the president's pressure actually had anything to do with it?
I think that's a good point, and I think that's an interesting point, right? That Governor Polis, as you pointed out, has said that he believes Peters' conviction should stand, but her sentence was too harsh and violated her right to free speech. Here's the problem. The Court of Appeals already agreed with him. That's why it had sent the case back to district court for resentencing. So the process was already working. She was already on her way to having her sentence reconsidered by the body actually responsible for sentencing. And instead, the governor stepped in front of that process and decided the outcome himself. Other people in Colorado do not get to have that. They do not get to cut the line. They do not get a governor personally reviewing their case and substituting his own judgment for the trial courts. Plenty of people in the state are serving sentences that are arguably too harsh. I don't believe the governor is monitoring all of those cases, ready to step in the moment he decides one looks disproportionate. So, it's a question of why her? And the only answer is that this was a politically influenced decision rather than one based on merit.
It was very interesting op-ed. Azra Taslimi, thank you for joining us to share your perspective on this tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Up next,